For those of you who don't know, I'm Steve. I've been a dog trainer for about 15 years now. Do private lessons and group classes. I also belong to several organizations, which we'll talk about in a minute. So this was taken a couple of years ago. This is me and my family. My oldest daughter is part of the reason I do these presentations. So this is Talbot that I was just talking about. It is the first dog I had after I moved out. It's my dog and not a family dog. When he was about 2 years old, I took him to the first pet manners class. And about that time, I was like, wow, I would really like to do that. But it kind of sat in the back of my mind for a while. In the 2008, I was able to open up the store as a self-serve dog washer. One of the things I wanted to do was offer training. So I took a certification class. My daughter was 2 at the time. She would come to the store with me a lot of weeks when she wasn't in daycare. And when dogs would walk into the store, she would just run up and throw her arms around them. And I would say, sweetie, don't do that. You need to ask first. You don't know these dogs. And people would always say, no, it's okay, he's friendly. And knowing what I knew, I would look at these dogs and think to myself, no, it's really not okay. So I started looking for ways to get information out so that people could just kind of interact with their dogs more appropriately. So that's kind of how these presentations came about. In the meantime, I've also written 3 books, and I've also written a couple of articles. I have a couple of other articles I'm trying to get published at the same time about training and interactions and that type of thing.
Do you have anything to recommend, like to read to kids in school about dogs? Did you do anything like that?
Actually, this one, My Journey, Where I Come From, that is specifically a children's book. That was my first foray into writing. This one is actually for probably up to 10-year-olds, around that age. These are available. I don't have a link, but they're published by Amazon, and they're available on just about any online retailer or book retailer. Okay. Bishopsgate Training, this is my dog training business. I do personal consultations as well as I do group classes at the Canine Sports Center out east side of town, which I forgot to put their logo up here. I also do Dog Leads, which is a podcast, comes out weekly. I do these presentations, and on Facebook I have a page called Midmo Pet Calendar, which is just events for people and their pets around town and the surrounding areas. And like we were talking about before, I do have several presentations Jenny and I have been working on getting those set up for next year. I think we've got them just about every month except for 1 or 2. So I'll be advertising those on my webpage as well as Facebook, and it'll be in the Midmo calendar. I think most of them are already on the Midmo calendar. So if you find this interesting, please look into the other ones. I have some other topics that I'm talking about also. And I just wanted to put these up here. These are all the dogs that I've had over the years. This is Talbot that I was talking about. And then we had Puck, Duncan. And then this is Malcolm that we were talking about earlier. I have no idea what kind of dog he is. He's just a mutt. He's our boy. So. Okay, so this always comes up, and I just like to get it out of the way early in just about every presentation, every class I do. It's a word about dominance. Dominance has been so misidentified and misdefined by pop science and pop culture. So when we talk about dominance, it's not a personality trait, but an aspect of a relationship. It's defined as a relationship between 2 individuals, which is established by force, and priority access to multiple resources. But it's fluid. It changes from situation to situation. It all stems from L. David Beach is his name. He was doing research in the 60s, published a book in the 70s, talked about the alpha dogs, alpha wolves, and almost immediately afterwards came out and said, we were totally wrong. The research was flawed. Here's what's actually happening. It's a mating pair, mother and father, and just like people, they kind of set the ground rules for the rest of the pack, which is their offspring. So it has nothing to do with fighting for dominance or anything like that. It's just a relationship. And like I was saying, the hierarchy can be fluid with dogs, which are not wolves, and I don't go too deeply into that right now, but One dog may be more assertive in one encounter and less assertive in another encounter. So it's very fluid. It has more to do with which dog acquiesces. So a good example, say my wife and I go out to pizza and beer. My wife loves pizza. She can eat it every meal. I like it well enough, but I don't like it as much as her. So if there's one piece of pizza left, I'm going to allow her to have it. Thereby, I am making her dominant. She is not asserting herself over me. Then inversely, I love beer. It's one of my favorite things. If I have a good beer, I am so happy. My wife is allergic to alcohol. She doesn't like beer anyway. So she is going to defer to me in that situation. So thereby, she is making me dominant. And then with dogs, for example, Duncan, my wife called him his crack. He just loved tennis balls, his favorite thing in the whole world. Puck, on the other hand, he was a terrier. He didn't care. So anytime Duncan had a tennis ball, Puck was going to defer to him, okay? Thereby making Duncan dominant. Then the other side of that, Puck being a terrier, he liked chew toys, tug toys, ropes, fast-moving things, that type of thing. Duncan didn't care, so he was going to defer to Puck, thereby making him dominant. So the situation was very fluid. So what are our dogs trying to tell us? I love this definition primary tool animals use to affect this process, communication, of altering others' behaviors to their own advantage. And that can be anything from play with me to this is my opinion and I'd like you to share in it to here's an experience I had and I would like you to share my emotions or my interpretation. I want you to remember this picture. This is Bella. Take a look at it and think about how she's feeling. One of the things I talk about a lot in this presentation is we have to take everything into account. You can't just look at one aspect of a posture or expression and determine how a dog is feeling or what they're trying to express. So dogs communicate with vocalization, but most of their communication is through body language or their posture. Their tail, their ears, mouth, the hair, piloerection it's called, where the hair is standing up, excuse me, their eyes and how they're standing. If they're leaning forward, leaning back, they're relaxed, etc. So vocalizations, as a rule, higher pitch, faster vocalizations tend to be what we call distance decreasing. Come closer, I want to interact with you, I want to play, etc. So Talbot, for example, when he would play, he would bark a lot. People would always say, well, why is Talbot so pissed off? And I would tell him he's not. That vocalization, it was barking, but it was that high-pitched, fast, that kind of a thing. On the other side of that, lower pitch, longer vocalizations usually mean distance increasing. So I want you to go away, I want you to get away from me, that type of thing. So you think about those growls. The bark is usually much longer, much lower. Same thing with the distance decreasing, those growls usually when they're playing, it's higher pitch, faster vocalizations. So we want to pay attention to those, but we also want to understand that dogs, just like people, some of them have lower voices and some of them are deeper voices and some have higher pitched voices. So Talbot, for example, again, he was very deep chested. I think he was part collie, so his barks always sounded really low, but it was just his anatomy that he sounded like that. Knowing him and what he sounded like in other situations, I could tell the difference, but the average person wasn't going to be able to. So it's kind of up to us to kind of interpret those growls and those barks. Very important, we never want to punish a growl or a bark. It's a really good indicator to people that they understand easily. If we punish that growl or that bark, we're going to take that, what's the word I'm looking for, communication away from them, and they're not going to give that warning before they actually bite or snap, something like that. So we want to allow them to bark, to growl, let us know what's going on, and then we can address the situation and address the growling or the barking afterwards. The tail position. When I was growing up, everybody always said, oh, if a dog's wagging their tail, they're friendly. Well, I know now that's not always true. So with a nervous dog, the tail may be down. Usually we just see the very tip wagging, or it's a real short, tight wag. Okay. Then we have what's called flagging. This is kind of, we think, an effort to make themselves look bigger, more intimidating, so you'll actually leave them alone. And again, the tail may be wagging, but it's usually that short, really tight wag. And then, of course, the anxious dog with the tail tucked and the crouching that usually goes along with that. So, it's a way to make themselves look smaller and less intimidating. You know, I'm not a threat, leave me alone kind of a situation. So with the more comfortable dogs, tail may be up. It's not exactly flagging. Usually you see those really broad wags all the way from side to side. Even the whole back end may be wiggling with it. And you see that a lot in the short-tailed dogs like your, I don't know, boxers, corgis, those types of dogs. And then you have just the tail straight out. Tail is used for balance. If it's just straight out, just kind of hanging there, but it's not real tense, usually it's just a very comfortable posture. I'm just trying to keep my balance as I move around, etc. And then the tail down in that relaxed position, not really wagging, but just kind of there. So postures, this is a big one where we look at the whole body. So real low stress signal is what we call lip lick, where the dog is licking their lips, but they're not thirsty, they're not anticipating a treat or anything like that. It's also called a nose lick, or Jennifer Shryock, who is the head of Family Paws Parent Education, which I'm a member of, there's what's called a kiss to dismiss. You see a lot of videos where the dog will lick a baby, a person, excuse me. It's one of those situations where you have to look at what's going on and what comes afterwards. The kiss to dismiss, the best way to describe it is the dog licks somebody and they go, oh, gross, and kind of pull away. And the dog gets that distance that they want. It's not affiliative. They're not trying to interact with the person. They just want to be left alone. And then this is kind of what it looks like in real life. And then the yawning, that can be kind of a stress reliever. It's kind of when people just go. And again, we want to look for that when the dog's not tired, they haven't been exercising excessively or anything like that. And again, a real life example. Then we have what's called look away, where the dog just won't look at the person or whatever it is that's annoying them, bothering them. And again, I kind of liken this to little kids. They don't understand that idea of permanence. So if they cover their eyes, they can't see something, it's not there. So kind of the same thing with the look away. They just won't make eye contact with you. And then a more exaggerated form of that is what's called a walk away, where the dog will get up and try to physically remove themselves from the situation and walk away from it. So this is a good example of a look away. And then the creeping or crouching, like we talked about with the tail is either tucked or it can be to the side, but it's usually down and real tight to the body. Ears may be back, a paw may be lift, body posture is lowered. And we have this little guy, notice the paw lift, and it's down a little bit, the tail's to the side, ears are tight. And we have a little bit of a lip lick there also to go with it. Then this alert posture, this you can usually tell the dog is very tense. The ears are up and forward. The body's leaning forward just a little bit. Just a very tight posture. The called the commissures, the corners of the mouth pulled forward a little bit. And we have this dog watching the traffic and a little bit tense there. But notice the ears are forward. What we call a hard stare, it's not really, well, I'm jumping ahead of myself. The hard stare is really focusing on what's going on around them. Posture's a little bit forward. And then the whale eye, this is a big one. When the dog does look away, but they want to keep an eye on what's going on, we call it a whale eye or a side eye. We call it a whale eye because you can see a lot of the white in the eye looking to the side, but it's a hard stare. There's been research that when we're just looking at something, the eye is constantly moving just a little bit, like imperceptibly. And it's believed that it's to help orient ourselves in space so that, we get that 3D vision so that we know where we are. The hard stare and the whale eye, it's very fixed. Even though it's imperceptible, somehow on a mental level we notice this. So this is a very tense situation, usually comes right before a bite. And then also we have these other signals that are, hey, leave me alone, the paw raised, the commissures forward, very tense body, etc. So here we have the actual photograph of that. And then the growl, snarl, and pilot erection are, like I said, it's just the hair standing up. It's the effort to make ourselves look bigger. The snarl, it's kind of a, hey, look at all these daggers, carpet cutters that I have in my mouth. You need to be careful kind of a thing. The wrinkling on top of the muzzle. Again, very stiff posture, leaning forward a little bit. Ears are up, forward. Again, just an effort to make themselves look bigger and more intimidating so that we left alone. And here we have that. Notice with the fluff, I use this picture because it doesn't have the erect ears. I use that in the illustrations because it's easier to see. But here, we've got the ears really close to the head, but forward a little bit. You're seeing the teeth, hard stare, leaning forward a little bit. These are real life pictures. Particularly me, because I'm in this industry, see a lot of pictures of, oh, look how cute this is, the baby and the dog. I would challenge you, when you look at these pictures, to just look at the dog, cover up everything else, look at the dog, see what their expression is, how they're actually feeling, and then uncover it and see what's actually going on. So we call it a check-in. Duncan was looking at me, and this is before I knew better, so that's why I have this picture. He was looking at me, he was doing a check-in, saying, I'm uncomfortable, don't want to be in this situation. It's kind of hard to see in this light, but the ears were close to the head, a little bit back. The commissures were a little bit forward. He was just in a very uncomfortable situation. And then, there we go, my daughter was giving him a hug, and dogs don't like to be restrained, is the short of it, but he was just kind of uncomfortable in that situation. So this we have what's called a look away. You can see he's kind of leaning back, looking away from what's going on in the rest of the picture. The ears are close to the head, kind of pulled back a little bit. And then look at how happy the kids are. They have no idea, neither do the parents. Then this is another look away. Notice the posture. The dog is leaning away, ears close to the head. That makes me nervous. I like to use pictures and examples from my life just so people understand that even professionals can screw up. It happens. So it's not like, oh, my dogs and their interaction with people are perfect. So this was Moses. We were keeping him for a friend of ours while they were selling their house. My daughter had just been born, obviously. Moses hadn't been around little kids in a long time. All of the kids in his home were grown and moving out. And he was just very nervous. He was in a strange situation with a bunch of strange people. And my wife saw him laying there and was like, oh, this would look cute. Let's put the baby there. And I was yelling at her to get the baby out of that situation. Oh, just take the picture. Just take the picture. Pick her up. Get her out of there. And I finally took the picture just so we could get Becca out of that situation. But you look at this, he's worried about the dog, he's got the baby there, he's being restrained by my wife, ears are erect, they're a little bit forward, he's got that hard stare, showing his teeth. My wife and I had a long talk after this picture was taken. So we don't want to put the dogs in those situations where something bad can happen. And then this is that whale eye that I was talking about. Notice the dog's leaning away a little bit. The ears are close to the head, pulled back. The dog's leaning away. And they've got this baby right in his face. This This one scares me as much or more than any of the other pictures. So British Small Animal Veterinary Association came out with this ladder of aggression a few years ago now, in 2009, but it's still relevant. So very low behaviors of the yawning, the turn away, which would be the look away, the walk away, creeping with the tail tucked in the lower body, lying down with the leg up, so kind of rolling over a little bit to expose the belly. Hey, I'm nervous and I'm not a threat. Please leave me alone. Growling, the snapping, and right between the growling and the snapping should be the whale eye. The snapping, and then a bite. The important thing about this is the dog may not show every single behavior, and they may not happen in order, and some of them may be repeated. So just want to kind of keep an eye out for these behaviors. So some of the statistics from the CDC, and these vary a little bit. Usually it's between 4.5 and 4.7 million people per year are bitten by dogs. Almost 1 in 5 or 800,000 cases need medical attention. This is the one that, it's why I do these presentations. Close to 50% of all children under the age of 12 are bitten by dogs, and 82% are under 15. 26% of the bites occurred to the face. So remember that one with the baby that made me so nervous? The face is right there. My daughter, when she was 2 years old and giving the dogs a hug, her face was right there with the dog's face. So they get bitten in the face 26% of the time. I have this up here because it's worth mentioning that over 80% of the dogs involved in bites reported by the media are misidentified. And part of the problem is you'll see an article is, a pit bull or a pit bull type dog bit somebody, or it's just a dog. And also, even if it's just a black dog or the right size, something like that, they'll identify it as a pit bull. There's nothing wrong with pit bulls. I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands of dogs, dozens of pit bull terriers and Staffordshire terriers, et cetera, et cetera. Never had a problem with them. The ones that are most likely to bite are Dachshunds, Chihuahuas, Jack Russells, Australian. Notice these top three, they're terriers. They're used to go to ground. That's what they've been bred for. So they will go underground, get foxes, badgers, et cetera, et cetera. They're bred to fight and bite and use their teeth. So we're working against that heredity in a lot of ways. And there's also what's called small dog syndrome, where they're allowed to get away with a lot more stuff than some of the larger dogs.
Do you think, I'm just wondering, I
Yes.
know you wouldn't know, but do you think they feel more vulnerable because they are little?
I do, actually. I find
People are more apt to want to handle them.
well, that's it. And part of the thing is the average person is between 4 and 10 times larger than a dog, depending on the breed and whatnot. And so you think about, if someone comes up to you and is hovering over you, it's going to make you a little anxious, a little nervous, etc. So smaller dogs, I think some of them are more prone to feel that apprehension and that intimidation when somebody comes up and is over them. So yes, I do think it has something to do with it. A lot of it depends on the personality that then we're getting into nurture and nature, and I give you a whole other spiel on that. But yeah, the short answer is yes, I do think it has something to do with it. So the lowest number of bites, golden retrievers are the fewest, Labradors would be next, and then Bernese Mountain Dogs, etc. One of the other reasons I have this up here is the worst bite I've ever gotten. I've been bitten 5 times since I've been working with dogs professionally. 3 of those I was doing their nails, so I kind of give them a little bit of a latitude there. It wasn't their fault, they were just a little nervous to begin with. But the worst bite I've ever gotten was by a golden retriever. And he got a hold of my knee, and I have scars on my knee still from that. The point being, even though we see these numbers, any dog can bite given the right situation. So we just don't want to put them in those situations where they feel like that is their last resort. And this, just for closure on that, I was breaking up a dog fight, and I made the stupid decision to get in the middle of it. And the retriever redirected to me, and grabbed a hold and just held on. So this is a video. I want to set this up a little bit. It was in the winter. I forget. I think it was in Colorado. But a dog had fallen to the ice. And 2 guys rescued the dog. The very next day, the 2 guys and the dog were in a news studio being interviewed about the whole situation. This dog had just been through a traumatic experience, had the 2 people that were associated with that traumatic experience, and then he's in the studio someplace he's not familiar with, all the lights and the people running around, etc., etc. I will warn you, there is a bite in this video. I'm going to show it at halftime first, kind of walk through it and point out some stuff, and then I'm going to let it go at real time so you can see just how fast this stuff happens. We start with lip lick. Dog's moving his head, trying to look away. Notice the ears are back. It's kind of leaning away a little bit, but the woman's holding his head. Got the panting, which didn't really talk about a whole lot. More panting. You can kind of see in part of this the teeth chattering, which again we didn't really talk about, but it's kind of like they're cold and the teeth are chattering. Commissures are pulled way back. Kind of that grimace. Trying to do a look away again, get out of the situation. And you can kind of see the hard stare. It's just really watching this woman. Lip licks, big look away. Panting. And there's the whale eye, the snarl, and the bite. Real time.
So she thinks, I got this dog so calm, I'm going to pet him and make him calm.
Right. And notice, again, she's right in his face. And so she got a bite to the face, there was some scarring. And credit to the news station, instead of making a big deal about how, this dog bit, how terrible he is and aggressive, et cetera, they went to experts and asked them, okay, what happened, what went wrong? And so they kind of talked through exactly what I mentioned, being in that stressful situation and then being put the very next day into another stressful situation. So got to give KUSA credit for that. So big question a lot of trainers get is, won't the behaviors become more frequent if we allow them to do these behaviors, the growling and the lip licking, et cetera, et cetera? The answer is no. When you think about it, when you're put in a situation, you know something's coming, you're going to tolerate it a lot longer. And then if we address that situation, the dogs learn, if I show this behavior, it's going to be taken care of and I'm going to be put in a more comfortable situation, taken out of this situation, etc. So, and then if you need to, you can address the issue with the trainer or behaviors. Here, always somewhere I like to mention, dog training is an unregulated field, so anybody could go out tomorrow, print a bunch of business cards, and call themselves a dog trainer. It doesn't mean they have the education and the experience to address any of these situations. You get a lot of couch trainers who've watched a few TV shows and know what they're doing. I am always more than happy to tell people, I took a certification class. I actually enjoyed it so much, I got my degree in psychology and a minor in sociology. I read scientific studies for fun. So I try and keep my education up to date as much as possible. And then a behaviorist in the United States, and some countries define it a little bit differently, but in the United States, a behaviorist is a PhD level education. So you want to be careful of anybody who says they are a dog behaviorist and does not have PhD or doctor associated with their name. And I'm always very clear, I have studied behavior, but I am not a behaviorist. So you want to be careful of those things. Make sure you know that the person is educated and they're up to date on their techniques. So now the lighter side. So when a dog's feeling comfortable, this can be confused with a lip lick, but we call it an air lick. It's when the tongue comes out and it's licking the air, not so much the nose or the lips. And I kind of think of it as like, I want to give you a kiss, but I'm afraid you'll be offended, so I'm not going to actually make contact. So, but notice the posture is much more relaxed, the ears are in a neutral position, the tail is comfortable, etc. And then we got, and I know it's kind of hard to tell with some of these pictures, but so we have an arrow leg here. The dog's, I don't know, excited to play in the snow probably or something like that. And then we have, we call it a doggy smile, but again, the commissures are pulled back, but usually the mouth is closed. It's not like the video that we saw where the commissures were pulled back, but the mouth was open a little bit. There's not that panting associated with it usually, unless they're tired. Squinty eyes, again, the ears are relaxed, the tail's relaxed, the whole body posture. And again, we just want to make sure we're taking everything in context. I love, that's probably my favorite picture in the whole presentation. I love that dog. And then of course the classic play bow where the front end's down and the back end is up. Usually the tail's wagging really broad. This is play posture. We may see the panting, but the tongue is out, it's relaxed, etc. Eyes are focused on whatever it is they want to play with, ears are relaxed, etc. So we've got, what was that dog's name? Sally. We were watching Sally for a friend of ours. She and Duncan got along great, but you can see they're playing. She's offering a little bit of a play bow. The tail is up and it was actually wagging. Ears are in a relaxed position, etc. And then we call this attention seeking. Going back to what we were talking about earlier with dominance and whatnot, this is actually attention seeking. The dog is trying to interact with us. They know we give off and take in information up here, and they're trying to interact with us on that level. It has nothing to do with dominance or hierarchy or anything like that. So, and here we see a picture of that. So observations in real life. Again, I don't know that I would do this now. This is, again, before I knew. So this is Becca again. She was taking a nap on the couch. The dogs climbed up there and kind of laid down with her.
Does that mean they got stressed with her in this situation? But if you were laying on them, they might be...
Right. They were very comfortable. They were laying down. They were relaxed. They were taking a nap with her. I don't know that I would want them that close to her now, but at the time I knew the dogs and I knew that they liked Becca just as much as we did, so I wasn't worried. But I'll mention it. So babies at this age, they have what's called a palmar reflex. So you think about when you put your finger in a baby's hand, a newborn's hand, they close their fist around it. My guess is, and I have nothing to back this up, it's just kind of extrapolating from what I know, I would guess a lot of times when babies get bitten, it's because the dog brushes up against their hand and they grab on, they're pinching the dog or whatever. The dog growls, snaps, it startles the baby until they hold on tighter. It's just that reflex. And so the dog sees no option but to go ahead and bite. So if Becca were to roll over, touch Duncan's ear or something like that, we could see that kind of a situation or scenario. So now I would probably have been sitting next to Becca and have the dogs on the other side of me. You always want to be in between babies and the dogs. But again, they're very relaxed. They're just climbed up there to take a nap. So this one, notice the dog's kind of leaning back into the baby. I think the person taking the picture was doing something because the dog's focused on the camera. But the ears are down, they're relaxed, they're not real tight to the head, they're not pulled back or forward. Again, just that very relaxed position. Again, this is that doggy smile. The commissures are pulled back, the mouth is open, it's very relaxed. The tongue's not sticking out like we talked about with the doggy smile in the slide where it's usually sticking out. But again, we have to take kind of everything in context. Ears are down, they're relaxed, they're not real tight to the head. And this dog here is actually leaning into the kid a little bit. So again, I don't know that I would allow this situation now, but we do want to see that posture and make sure the dogs are comfortable in those situations. Again, we have the play bow. This, I talk a little bit about play here. This is what we call play inhibition. So Duncan was 40 pounds. Sally was, I think, 8. So he could have drugged her all over the house if he wanted to, but he was regulating his play so that they could both play together and continue the play. And this is kind of good interactions that we want to see when two dogs are playing. They're both relaxed. They're pulling on the tug toy, but Sally's not quite in that play bow situation with the tail's up, but it's relaxed. Oh, so this, I don't have any good video, so a friend of mine sent me this. It has some of her comments on it. This is Hagrid and, Chewie is the black dog, and then Hagrid is the white. And this is just one of their play sessions. So this is the kind of play that we want to see. So again, that play inhibition by Chewie. He's down on the ground, so he's not overpowering Hagrid. Kind of the wrestling, biting, but they're not breaking skin. Notice the tail wagging on Hagrid. It's real broad and relaxed. Ears are not close to the head. Again, very relaxed. Then we're going to see a play bow here. And Chewie rolls over, kind of exposes his belly. I'm not a threat. And the play bow, rolling over again. And they're going to take a timeout. I'll talk about this in a second. Just take a break for a second, and then go back to playing a little bit. Notice Chewie's head is down, so that play inhibition again, taking another break. Shake off, just kind of a, that was fun. Then Chewie reciprocates. And again, those nice, relaxed tail wags. A little bit of a lip lick. And then Chewie breaks off. Yeah, here. Breaks off and the play session's over. But notice even with the mouths open, hamsters are pulled back. They are panting because they've been playing, but it's kind of that doggy smile. Again, just it's tight, mouths open, but it's relaxed. It's not snarling with the folds on top of the muzzle, etc. So the bite statistics, again, we're looking at it from the other side. It is 323 plus million people per year not bitten by dogs. Almost 4 in 5 don't need medical care, and over 50% of children are not bitten by dogs. So the reason I put this in here, I don't want people to go away with a feeling of, oh my gosh, we've got to really watch our dogs, and it can be really scary and intimidating, etc. Dogs are going to do what dogs do. So what to remember, dogs aren't trying to dominate us, and I could do a whole other presentation on that, honestly, but want to understand our dogs and their language. Don't want to force ourselves or allow other people to force themselves on dogs, particularly a dog that is uncomfortable in a situation. So going back to that picture with Moses. And want to respond to those low-level stress signals so they don't escalate. The dogs know that they're going to work, and so they can tolerate a lot more. And then don't look at just one aspect, but take everything into account when you're looking at a dog and their body language. So back to Bella. Any thoughts?
I would be afraid of that dog. I would, honestly.
I talked to Katie, I talked to a couple of other people from when this picture was taken, and they're like, she's the sweetest dog in the world. So first thing I noticed when I was looking at this picture for a minute is the soft eyes. It's not that hard stare, not squinting or anything like that. And then the ears are very relaxed. They're alert, but they're up, but they're not like real far forward, not real far back. And then this goes back to, originally in college I studied art, so this is an art term. It's contrapposto, which is where you see the people standing like this, where half the body goes one way and the other half goes the other way. It's asymmetrical. It's a very relaxed posture. So notice the dog is very much in that pose. Bella was yawning. She just happened to show her teeth at the moment this picture was taken.
Yeah, because her nose is not wrinkled up.
Right, yeah. Everything else says this dog is very relaxed, except for she's showing her teeth. So we want to make sure we're keeping everything in context. And then I do have a new website up. It still needs some work, so be kind if you care to visit it. The podcast and then the calendar that I talked about. We got the QR codes for those.